So with that, what I want to say is that Libby has a very similar passion around helping people to unlock their best selves. Libby is she is the Humid Resonator Coach. She's a motivated business owner. She helps motivated business owners save precious energy by avoiding exhausting loops of self-doubt and stress. She helps you or your team, you and your team, get the mental fitness coaching you need to build a transformative mental fitness habit so you can live a life of ease and flow that you dream about. You deserve to trust yourself in your leadership decisions. She has 15 years of experience in helping professionals and leadership development. She believes sincerely that personal transformation leads to communal transformation, and that the future we're all looking for is ours for the creating. I couldn't agree more. Across 8 years as a coach and group coaching, she spent hundreds of hours one-on-one and managing teams with folks that are braving awkward and sometimes brave and kind enough to dare through these challenges and possibilities. She's trained as an international through the International Coach Federation and Positive Intelligence, and she's a certified Business Made Simple coaching coach. Libby is the daughter of two continents, North America and Africa, and she maintains dual citizenship with the US and the Republic of South Africa. She finds breathing room for the soul in Wyoming's wide open skies, which I can only imagine. And actually, I think I've seen in a picture of hers, or maybe she was, oh, I know, she was in a lodge when I talked to her last, up in the mountains. And you can find her at resonatenow.live, resonatenow.live. So without further ado, I welcome to the stage Libby Teder Hugus. Libby Teder
Thank,
Hugus. Welcome, welcome.
thank you so much, Helmut. It is a joy to be with you. Good evening, good afternoon, beloved humans. I am so grateful to be with you in this space and to be thinking through and redefining what success and leadership is, right? So we've been asking ourselves the question through these other powerful speakers and through Helmut's leadership of us today, how love translates into business. So I have some guesses. I think love translates into business when our internal world matches our external world. I think the way that we match these two spaces between our internal world and our external world is when three things align: integrity, power, and action. So integrity is possible when we can resonate with the sound of the genuine in ourselves. When our internal desires match our external actions, then we are living from integrity. I have a guess that love translates into business when we can access our personal power and use our personal power to influence others. So when we're living from integrity, when those two spaces align for us and we are resonating with the sound of the genuine in ourselves, then we have the authentic power to love well from a boundaried and sustainable place while we lead ourselves and others in our businesses, on our teams, and to the markets we're trying to reach. My favorite definition of power comes from the organizing, the community organizing sort of bandwidth of information. And they say, this tradition says that power is the capacity, the ability, and the willingness to act. Okay, so let's think about how we use our power. We may be willing to act, but we might not be able to act. Or maybe we're able to act, but we don't have the capacity to act. So we might have the capacity, but no get up and go. So these three things in the definition of power are circular. They all have to be flowing together in order for us to use our power. So love translates into business when we take action to promote overall well-being. Okay, so we're going to get slightly philosophical for just a minute, and then I want to bring into your awareness a little most embarrassing story, because I think most embarrassing stories are a fantastic way to redefine success in leadership. But before we get there, philosophically, I think that all of reality is relational. We are inherently relational creatures. We are born into relationships. We can never escape relationships. And while we may sometimes want to fool ourselves into believing that we are independent and strong and capable humans, the reality is we are woven into these intricate, interdependent webs of relationships with many parts of the physical world, right? So, my mentor and friend, Thomas J. Ord, has the best definition of love that I've ever heard. Tom says that love is to act intentionally with sympathetic response to self and others, including the divine and the universe, if we have a religious belief system that allows us to include that, to promote overall well being. So we're acting intentionally with sympathetic response to promote overall well being. So, as Helmut said, I'm a mental fitness coach who works directly with business owners, visionaries, and leaders every single day. And the way that I personally translate love into my business and help my clients do the same is I invite my clients to act intentionally from sage brain rather than from saboteur brain, with a sympathetic response that promotes overall well being. So, I have a question for you today. What good is it to be outwardly successful as a leader and inwardly miserable? What good is it to be outwardly successful as a leader and inwardly miserable? I would make the argument that it does nobody any good to project or think or portray an outward success and internally be at dis-ease with yourself, the business that you're in, the leadership that you are enacting in the world, or the way that you show up. So um, it's kind of difficult to be a human on planet Earth right now. Can anybody else in the room agree that just being a human on our planet at this time in history is extremely difficult? We're overstimulated, we're under resourced, we're prone to self doubt, we're incredibly stressed out. One of my gurus in the wellness and self development and psychology spheres, Brene Brown, says that our nervous systems are trying to live beyond human scale. Holy cow, right? These nervous systems that we embody are living beyond human scale. So, if we find ourselves in any sort of leadership role, whether we're an entrepreneur or an executive, or we're a team leader that's working with other executives and entrepreneurs, it's possible that we are portraying outward success and we might be inwardly miserable. So, if this is you, I have an antidote to this space. And the antidote to this fake it till you make it, self doubt, and energy suck of stress space is mental fitness. I want to help us redefine success and redefine leadership today through the embodiment of these words. I want to help us be able to press pause when we are living beyond human scale, when we are overwhelmed, and choose between stimulus in and response out, to choose to create our own growth and our freedom from the space between there. Okay, so Helmut said this earlier, and I want to reiterate this for us out loud. I believe in the powerful change that is possible when our brains are functioning optimally. I believe in the powerful change that is possible when our brains are functioning optimally. I've watched my clients over the last 8 years shift from self sabotage mode in these loops where they're stuck and they're hyper vigilant and they're anxious and they're hyper achieving and they're controlling. I've watched them shift into explore mode, empathy mode, navigation mode, where efficiency and innovation and creation is possible. So my whole job as a mental fitness coach is to help entrepreneurs, executive leaders just like you in this room today, because I believe that that personal transformation that we can attain when we change our brains leads to the kind of communal transformation that we're all longing for, so that we can take this chaotic energy that we're feeling on planet Earth right now and bring it right back down to that core of love. The future that we long for is ours for the creating. Okay, so back to this embarrassing story. A couple of years ago, I was on a trip with colleagues, and we were road tripping from Wyoming to Colorado. We were headed to a retreat with one of my all-time favorite Celtic activists and theologians. His name is John Philip Newell. And we picked up a friend of ours outside of Fort Collins, Colorado, to head to Colorado Springs. And he knows the area well. And he was like, I don't know why your Google Maps is taking you this way, but let's just trust it. We'll get there when we get there. On the way back, again, he was like, that route just feels really, really strange to me. I don't understand why it's taking you that way. And I was like, it's Google Maps. We'll get there. Everything's fine. Well, when I got home, I was complaining to my husband because I was saying to him, I was like, I don't understand why my Google Maps app does not match up with anybody else that I'm traveling with. Like, what is the deal here? Something is off. Something is not functioning here, because every time I pull up my Google Maps, somebody else's Google Maps app is showing a different route, and my route is consistently anywhere between 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 minutes different estimation of time. And I'm complaining to him, and he's like, hey, have you checked your settings? And I was like, no, I haven't checked my settings. And so I went into my settings and I looked, and I had the avoid highways setting set on my Google Maps app. You guys, for 2 years, I had been complaining that my app did not match up with the people around me. 2 years. And I had no idea that the setting existed. And I had no idea that it was set to avoid highways. So anytime I used my Google Maps app, which was a lot when I was traveling and navigating, it was only giving me the options to avoid highways. So I wonder how many of us in the room today can relate to the experience that I had with Google Maps, but apply it to your brain, right? Where your brain is trying to get you to help you navigate efficiently between destination A and goal B, between destination A and vision C, between destination A and big plans D. But unbeknownst to you, you're avoiding every single most logical route to get you there, because you have avoid, ease, and flow set in your brain without knowing it. Okay, so here's how we're going to bring this down to what you might be feeling right now. I want you to consider the last, like, medium-sized roadblock that you faced as a leader or a business owner. Okay, so not like earth-shattering, like life is failing and we can't move forward sort of energy, but just like it was a big block. Okay, and then I want you to think about how that roadblock generated a negative emotion in you. So maybe that roadblock was caused by a massive deadline that just was rushing at you. Maybe it was caused by a product launch that wasn't going to plan. Maybe it was caused by an employee or a vendor relationship that was turning sour. Maybe it was caused by an internal imposed expectation of how you were supposed to do your work and execute on your work. Could be failure to meet a goal. Okay, so I want you to imagine this roadblock. And now I want you to recall the negative emotion that was attached to that roadblock. Some examples of a negative emotion attached to that could be worry, anxiety, sadness, frustration, shame, blame, anger, coercion, procrastination. And now I want you to do me a favor and just experiment with me for a moment by taking note, either in your own private notes app on your computer or tablet, or physically, you might be taking notes. And I want you to write down the cause. Okay. So the cause is the roadblock. What was the circumstance? And then I want you to write down the negative emotion attached to that. And then I want you to put onto a scale, what is the scale of disruption to your ease and flow that this roadblock caused you? So 0 is like, it was fine. I made my way through it. No big deal. 10 is like, that was so disturbing and so disruptive. I spun out in negative emotion for 48 hours. Okay. So 10 is like really disruptive. 0 is not disruptive at all. Okay. Now we're going to try to intercept and interrupt this thought pattern. Okay. So here's how we're going to do that. We are going to connect our mind with our other ways of knowing. We're going to take our mental intuition and we're going to connect our emotional knowing with our gut knowing. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to do this today. One way is you can keep eyes open and you can choose a focal point either on the screen or just offside of the screen. Or if it's helpful to you today, you can close down eyes. And I'm going to lead us through about 60 seconds of interrupting this neurotransmitter. Okay. So go ahead and choose your focal point or close down your eyes. I'm going to close mine down. And as we do this together, what you're going to do is you're going to begin to offer some gentle breath to yourself, some noticing breath. And you're going to allow the sensations of your physical body to come online a little louder than your higher thinking, higher functioning thoughts. Thoughts are still going to come and go because they're a part of our processing. We have over 70,000 of them a day. But you're just going to turn down the volume on these thoughts by about a third. So now they're sort of at the back burner of your brain. I want you to feel the rising and falling of your chest and your stomach as you breathe in and breathe out. And next, I want to invite you to bring a finger to a thumb. Just gently rub these 2 surfaces together with such exquisite attention to detail that perhaps you can feel the ridges of your fingerprints as you rub the surfaces together. And as you're ready, I invite you to bring your focus back into our room together or back onto the screen. And I want you to notice if there has been a shift in your reaction to that roadblock. Has there been a shift in your reaction to that roadblock that you faced as a leader? Simply take note of that. And maybe one way that you can take note of that is by going back to that scale where you said, I was like a 7 out of 10 disrupted. What does your nervous system tell you now about that disruption? Has it shifted a couple of points? Has it shifted no points? Neutral discernment is a fine way to notice this. Okay, so when it comes to redefining success and leadership, we have to understand how our saboteur brain works. So what we just did is we disrupted our reaction brain and gave ourselves some space to breathe from response brain. So my mentor, Shirzad Shamin, has developed this really powerful operating system called positive intelligence. And he has a shorthand for our survival brain, our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn brain, which he calls sabotage brain. And I'm pointing back here to the brainstem, the base of our brain where our amygdala lives. This is where fight, flight, freeze, or fawn lives. And then in the upper parts of our brain, in the upper regions of our brain, we have our sage brain. This is where we have the capacity to execute decision making and execute creative thinking when we are not in survival. So, let me give you a little visual to how this works in the brain. Our minds are constantly sabotaging our potential for happiness in our performance, our well being, and our relationships. And believe it or not, all of our negative emotions, including stress, are the result of self sabotage. So, our saboteur brain acts like that avoid highways click in our brain. It keeps us stuck in avoiding the ease and flow that we have access to. So, my goal in the rest of my talk with you all today is to bring your awareness to where your brain may have been avoiding the ease and flow of being a successful and confident leader. So, give me an emoji in the chat or give me a reaction on your screen if you would you prefer to have an efficient brain working for you? If you want this efficient brain working for you, give me a thumbs up. Or would you rather have an inefficient brain working against you? Which would you rather have? An efficient brain working for you or an inefficient brain working against you? Give me a little chat, give me a little symbol in the chat or a response on the screen that tells me that you would prefer the efficient brain working for you. Okay, if this is the case, then do you think you are going to need to change some of your mental habits before you can get to a fully efficient brain? Are you going to need to change any of your mental habits before you get there? I want to let you in on a little mental fitness secret. It's this: any true and lasting change requires 20% insight and 80% muscle building. 20% insight and 80% muscle building. So I wonder if you all can relate to the feeling of being super, super inspired. Maybe after an event like the one that we're in today, maybe after a continuing ed event, maybe after an opportunity for self development or a powerful retreat or a spa day, you come back and you're feeling incredibly inspired. And you're like, I am going to go tackle those 3 top things on my list today. But then 3 weeks later, you're back into the same old habits that keep you bound, right? This may be hitting a little too close to home for us because we're in that beautiful 2 week stretch after New Year's, right? We might be feeling like, oh, I set resolutions for myself and I'm already failing. Well, here's the reason why. You didn't back up the insight that you had with exercising your brain muscles to create those new habits. Okay. So here is how I want to redefine success and leadership from within the framework of mental fitness today. According to the brain science of mental fitness, success is the personal power to handle stress and to de escalate it for others and those that you lead. Success is the personal power to handle stress and to de escalate it for others and those that you lead. It's the personal power to live from the intersection of what I defined earlier about where love intersects with business, power, integrity, and action. A successful human being is the personal power to handle stress and de escalate it for others. And here's how I would like to redefine leadership from within the mental fitness framework today. Leadership is anyone who uses their success, their ability to handle stress and de escalate it for others, to facilitate mental strength and fitness in their self, in others, in circumstances, and in systems. In themselves, in others, in circumstances, and in systems. A fabulous leader is mentally fit enough to respond rather than react. A fabulous leader decreases sabotage and increases sage. Okay, so here is the thing about mental fitness and how this redefinition of success and leadership plays itself out. I'll give you a visual real quick, in case you want to take a screenshot, and then I'll make these available on my website too, in case once we follow up later. This is how I want to redefine success and leadership. So grab a screenshot if you want to. And then I want to talk about the tug of war in our brains between saboteur and sage brain, and how successful leaders are going to live their personal power at the intersection of that tug of war. Okay. So, mental fitness is the strength and resiliency of your mind to choose self awareness and take 100% responsibility for each action, resulting in emotional intelligence and the ability to handle stress. Okay. So, real quick, this is how the tug of war takes place for you. It takes place between the push and the pull of your brain. All of your negative emotions, your stress center, are going to try to take over your world. But you have the power to live from the pull of positive emotions and to choose to live in that beautiful space between stimulus and response. So, Helmut, let me just check in with you real quick. I see that there's 4 minutes remaining. Is that true, or do I need to be done sooner than that?
Actually, I think it's even two.
Okay.
Technically.
Okay, great. So let me just wrap up with one more quick thought, and then you ask me if there's anything you want me to wrap up on. Okay. So that push and pull, then, if we are redefining success as living between the push and the pull of our brain, then I want you to feel the inspiration of Viktor Frankl. Some of you might be familiar with this quote, but between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So then, successful leadership, y'all, is anyone who uses their personal power to facilitate mental fitness in self, others, circumstance, and systems. And a fabulously successful leader is mentally fit enough to respond rather than react. A fabulously successful leader lives from a place of response, growth, and freedom. It's been such an honor for me to share a little bit about the nerdy brain science between how we can redefine this. And I would love to connect with any of you that would love to take a deeper dive on this. Helmut, back to you.
Yeah, Libby, I just want to say, this element of the saboteur, right? And really kind of sitting with what that is in us and realizing that space of the decision making, right? It is
Mhm.
everything. It's
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And the more it is a muscle, like you kind of learn to be okay sometimes with the silence, right? Sometimes with what comes up and quickly you know where to move it and move on, right?
Yes.
And it really, really, really is a muscle. The more you exercise it, the better you are, and the
Yeah.
easier it is for you to deal with crap that flows to you, right? At work,
Mm,
in your business, you don't
yes.
respond to it with yeah, the same way. It really is a muscle, and I appreciate that you help people train that.
You bet. Absolutely. Let's go. Let's go become more mentally fit 1% a day this year.
Right? Absolutely. And isn't it interesting? I know we could talk about it forever because there's the social, right? The social consciousness has a
Yes.
fitness too, right?
Yes, it
And we
does.
really want it to be super fit. So we're all part of it. Welcome to being
Yeah.
human. We're all connected. You didn't know you're all part of one family. FYI, if you're listening, we're all related in some way. So welcome. All right. Thank you, Libby, so much. I appreciate